From Storm Tracker 6, this is Forecast First, sponsored by Auto Owners Insurance. Simple human sense.
We had a couple of scattered rain showers earlier this Wednesday morning across mid-Michigan. Since then, we've been able to dry things out across a good chunk of the area. However, notice another round of precipitation to our west, which will be moving in later on this afternoon. Temperatures are cooler compared to where we were yesterday, but we kind of have a wide variety, ranging from the low 70s in places like St. John's and Lansing down into the mid-80s right along the state line. We still have some cooler temperatures in the forecast as we go throughout the rest of the day, but humidity is going to remain an issue. So feels like temperatures north of I-94 still going to be rather pleasant. Notice it's still going to feel like mid to low 90s right along the state line. We'll have more details on the heat and, of course, the showers and thunderstorms we're expecting coming up in just a bit. 6 News at noon starts right now.
WMNS is here for you, celebrating 75 years of bringing you the news with 6 News at noon.
President Trump is pushing back on a U.S. intelligence report that suggests the attack on Iranian nuclear facilities set back their nuclear program by a couple months. That's our top story at noon. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Dalen Huff. The president called the damage total and said it would take the Iranians a year to recover. The president made his remarks at a meeting of NATO partners where he also is expected to meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Natalie Brand is here for you with the latest.
We hear it was obliteration. It was a virtual obliteration.
President Trump is refuting an initial classified assessment by the Defense Intelligence Agency that found Iran's nuclear program may have only been set back by a few months, according to sources familiar with its contents.
It's gone for years. Very tough to rebuild because the whole thing has collapsed.
Officials familiar with the report also caution it's an early assessment that could change.
They said it could be very devastating, very serious.
Moderate to severe, and we believe far more likely severe and obliterated.
Later, the Israelis backed up the president, saying the U.S. and Israeli strikes set back Iran's ability to develop nuclear weapons by many years.
The devastating U.S. strike on Fordo destroyed the site's critical infrastructure and rendered the enrichment facility totally inoperable. It was devastated.
The conflict with Iran dominated the initial hours of the NATO summit, but now Russia's war on Ukraine is back in focus. President Trump met behind closed doors with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
What I took from the meeting couldn't have been nicer, actually, but I took from the meeting that he'd like to see it end. I think it's a great time to end it. I'm going to speak to Vladimir Putin and see if we can get it ended.
NATO's Secretary General also announced that members have agreed to increase spending on defense to at least 5% of their GDP. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
We will have continued coverage on this conflict, so stay tuned on air and online at WLNS.com. A proposal at the Michigan Capitol could shift the conversation around mental health and psychedelic medicine. State Representative Mike McFaul is introducing new legislation to decriminalize the use of psilocybin. The individual suffering from PTSD as he moves is specifically critical for veterans. The legislation aimed at removing criminal penalties for therapeutic use is being unveiled during the press conference hosted by McFaul, a Democrat from Hazel Park, and a retired U.S. Sergeant First Class Michael G. Smith, Jr. McFaul says the goal is to give veterans and others living with PTSD safe access to alternative treatment without fear of legal repercussions. The bill aligns with growing national conversations around psychedelic-assisted therapy, particularly for treatment-resistant mental health conditions. Members of a tenant union will speak in front of city council members to highlight Lansing's housing crisis. The group Rent is Too Damn High, a member group of We the People Action Fund, invited some elected city official members to speak on the topic of housing and show how members could have handled it if they were sworn in. Members say this comes in the wake of mass evictions at the Sycamore Townhomes, the second largest housing complex in Lansing. The owner of the Christiana Mobile Village shutting off its water, enforcing evictions and raising renting costs. The event is at the Fledge in Eureka Street. The doors open at 6 p.m. and close at 8 p.m. Gun safety is again on the front and center at Michigan Capitol as the state representatives prepare to vote on multiple proposals aimed to tightening gun laws. Among the bills, a bill that will ban manufacture, sale, or possession of bump stocks, the controversial gun accessory used in several high-profile mass shootings. Another would prohibit concealed pistols and other firearms in certain state buildings. A third will require a firearm component to carry several numbers, closing loopholes that will allow for so-called ghost guns assembled from kits or 3D printed parts. A fourth bill would update sentencing and guidelines for gun-related offenses. Rock legend and outspoken outdoorsman Ted Nugent was back in the spotlight today, but not on stage, but at the Michigan Capitol. Nugent testified before a joint legislation hearing, calling out what he describes as overreach the Department of Natural Resources. He criticized that the claims are arbitrary, fines and heavy-handed enforcement of conservative laws, even citing where residents are penalized for feeding birds in their own backyard. The hearing brought together members of the House Natural Resources and Tourism Committee, along with two oversight subcommittees to examine accountability inside the DNR. Today, the Protect My Care Coalition will host a vigil on the state capitol steps to highlight the proposed Medicaid cuts and the importance of health care for access to Michigan families. Advocates say critical Medicaid funding is on the line and want policies that will protect health care access and economic stability for millions of residents. The vigil starts at 6 p.m. and events in front of the Capitol steps. Ever wonder what it's like to drive a big yellow school bus? Well, now is your chance to find out. Livingston County school districts are inviting community members to hop on the driver's seat, especially during their upcoming Bus Try It Out Day. It's a hands-on opportunity to experience what it's like beyond the wheel and learn how jobs that keep schools running safely every day. Participants will meet experienced drivers, trainees, and learn about paid CDL training and explore benefits like sign-on bonuses and up to $5,000 flexible hours, school year schedules, retirement, and medical plans. In downtown Lansing, there's a ribbon cutting to celebrate Middle Village's newest businesses. 3 boutiques will open today and will introduce a fresh lineup of women's fashions and original designs. Lansing Mayor Andy Shore will attend the ribbon cutting ceremony. BB's Boutique, Blueprint of Beauty Boutique, and Bee House Originals opened at 11 a.m. Event officials say the Middle Village is a dynamic retail accelerator program that's aimed to break barriers to entrepreneurship with a focus on women and minority-owned businesses. And as state lawmakers consider how funding the state's aging roads and bridges for the long haul, a new idea is gaining traction, and it's not your typical gas tax. Today, the Lansing County Road Association of Michigan is hosting a nationally recognized expert on a new approach called Road Usage Charge, or RUC. The proposed system will one day charge drivers based on how far they drive, not how much fuel they use. We'll have more details on the reactions from local drivers tonight on 6 News at 6. Hopefully, a new chapter will begin for one of the college basketball rising stars, and he will be carrying out a proud NBA legacy. Michigan State standout Jace Richardson, the son of NBA slam dunk champion Jason Richardson, is anticipating hearing his name called at the 2025 NBA draft tonight. The skilled combo guard impressed scouts with his maturity, shooting, touch, and late season surge, and he's now ready to make his mark on the league. The 6'3" guard helped lead the Spartans to a Big Ten title, averaging over 12 points a game and shooting more than 40% beyond the arc.
From Storm Tracker 6, this is Weather First, sponsored by Auto Owners Insurance. Simple human sense.
Even though we have been able to cool our temperatures down across mid-Michigan by right around 5 to 15 degrees, you'll notice as you step outside this afternoon, it is still incredibly uncomfortable and just kind of overall gross. That's because humidity is still an issue. Notice dew point temperatures still generally ranging in the mid to low 70s. We're actually at 77 degrees for that dew point temperature over in Mason. Now, these humid conditions will be sticking around not only as we go throughout the rest of our Wednesday, but likely for the next several days as well. Notice on our muggy meter, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and even as we move into early next week, those dew point temperatures are still generally going to be in the mid to low 70s, so it's still going to feel incredibly uncomfortable across the area, even though we have been able to take away some of that heat. Now notice on satellite and radar, we have mostly cloudy conditions across the bulk of the area right now, but there is a stationary front setting up south of I-94. That stationary front is actually going to help us to develop a couple of scattered showers and thunderstorms as we go throughout the rest of the day today. And similar to yesterday, a few of those storms do have the potential to be strong or severe. Notice Storm Prediction Center has that level 1 of 5 marginal risk for strong to severe storms, generally going along and south of I-94, right where that stationary front is setting up across our region. The main concerns that I have with any of the thunderstorms that we see across the area today is going to be the potential for them to yet again produce some isolated strong wind gusts, so very similar to what we just experienced yesterday afternoon and evening. Notice on Precision Cast, those scattered showers and thunderstorms beginning to develop this afternoon, holding on to the chance for precipitation later on this evening. We will be able to dry things out overnight tonight, and then notice as we move into our Thursday afternoon, another round of scattered showers and thunderstorms will be developing across the region. Yet again, it looks like we'll hold on to that chance for precipitation not only Thursday evening, but also as we go throughout the first half of the overnight hours. And then yet again, Friday, another round of scattered showers and thunderstorms in the forecast. So we're kind of in a rinse and repeat weather pattern across the region as we go throughout the rest of the work week here. Now outside right now, notice that we have this blanket of cloud cover in place across the area. Temperatures here in Lansing, actually not too bad. 72 degrees, our rainfall total from the precipitation that we saw earlier this morning, currently sitting at 1/10 of an inch. Similar situation over in Grand Ledge, but notice those rainfall totals are a lot lower. 1/100th of an inch of precipitation actually falling into the rain gauge thus far. Our current temperature right at 73 degrees. As we head further south, you'll notice that those temperatures are warming up because we have a little bit more in the way of sunshine. In Jackson, currently in the low 80s, but with dew point temperatures at 73 degrees, it feels like we're at 86 degrees. It feels even warmer down towards the state line in the city of Hillsdale. Heat indices already in the low 90s. Now, high temperatures for today, generally going to be in the upper 70s to low 80s, but it is going to be a lot warmer right along the state line. I think in Branch and Hillsdale County, you are still looking at feels like temperatures in the mid to low 90s today. Overnight tonight will dry things out. Those overnight lows yet again falling down into the upper 60s. The 6-day forecast is going to look rather active over the course of the next few days. Several chances for those scattered showers and thunderstorms Thursday and Friday. Notice by then those high temperatures yet again warming up into the mid to upper 80s. We are right back into the low 90s as we move into the weekend. But the good news is it's going to come along with those dry and sunny conditions. Still going to be incredibly humid, however.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kendall, for that update.